Downgrading of Human Function and Upgrading of Robotic Function by Renee Lindstrom, founder, Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning. We live in a time that has many possibilities for transitional movement. Many we have experienced in the past few decades. This is one that I have written on before that is in my wheelhouse for observing physical, mental, and emotional functional integration. One of the starting points of focus in my wheelhouse is functional movement. Of course, this is not separate from mental or emotional function, as each are seemingly triggered simultaneously, or before the quantification of human time can be specified. It's the social conditioned thinking patterns that is slow, bulky, and lacks efficiency in comparison to this spontaneous ability that each human is born with. Imagine at birth spending time in mindfulness to develop physical movement patterns that are not mentally contrived. Imagine at birth only having less emotional reactions than one has in the number of fingers in one hand, or having no memorized words in the culture born into. Imagine somatic movement and sensations in complete mindfulness at the core of absorbing the conditions in the environment and cultural conditioned behavior. At birth, communication is through the expression of others' mental, emotional, and physical levels of function. Babies somatically experience their environment and mimic it while developing their inner process of putting a spoken language to it and creating memories. Environmental mentoring is not exclusive to behavior expressed in one area of function. It is across the lifestyle board of those surrounding the baby. It includes physical, mental, and emotional functions and environments that provides the stimulus needed for life, like eating and drinking, and it is influenced by levels of stability in surrounding living patterns. This is all being absorbed, mimicked, and memorized. It is training the brain in function, kind of like the operating system of robotics or computers, input and output. I write all of this to share a phenomenon I am experiencing from my focus of attention that is birthed from the experience in my wheelhouse in real time with real humans. I will use the development of functional computers developed to mimic human function. I have used this example previously. When the engineers of this technology began, they had no idea of functional movement, and it was expressed in early robotics. It was clumsy, awkward, and lacked balanced mobility. As they progressed, these engineers began to articulate functional movement more efficiently. Now they are at the point that these robots function more efficiently than the human population that it is modeled on. Only the engineers didn't stop at physical function. They have expanded to the inner functional process and outer appearance. The duplication has gone so far as to include humans downloading their mental achievements and patterns into the robotics to be replaced in certain, if not most, tasks. This is a great example for me as a practitioner, as I have observed the refinement of function created by the engineers of technology who explored human function at the starting point, who have been going beyond the limits of closed thinking socially and conditionally in their mindsets. They weren't thinking about a strategy to fix a specific need in a 2D robotic way. They were trying to discover how to turn robotics into three-dimensional rotational movement. Their process of engineering development began with a solid support, in parentheses, skeleton, and involved different ways of creating functional movement through moving joints. This, in a sense, mimics my functional movement wheelhouse. The difference is robotics is becoming more efficient as the development isn't bogged down by social conditioned memories or culturally learned differences or lifestyle behavior. Their processing systems adjust and learn according to the input. That is essentially our potential ability at birth that is stunted by current humanity conditioning. Robotics is transitioning into a more efficient, articulate, and competent pattern of being human than humans, who are essentially being functionally downgraded. This doesn't need to be so. That's the hardest observation. I tutored someone who has had the amazing ability to learn through the exploration of potential functional movement they were born with. Someone who has been seeking answers to improve movement and posture for some time. In the process of working together to learn more efficient patterns of movement, their other practitioners took heed, especially when change began to happen where there was none for years. Pain-free movement that lasted for mere hours or a day in the past began expanding, and where pain levels decreased, in parentheses, robotics don't feel pain. With the increase of our focused exploration on the potential for whole movement using patterns this person hadn't learned yet, the practitioners began mimicking back the language they were hearing from this person that could have only come from me. Expansion of consciousness, yet limited potential and setup of competition, putting this person in the middle of defensive triangulation. I ignored it, didn't play into it, and continued to work with available movement and guided patterns of movement until their eyes shifted with interest and away from inner conflicted emotions. As the integration of functional movement increased, there was a significant shift in day-to-day results. It's growing exponentially. While we focused on functional bone movement and its rotation together, the other practitioners suggested an X-ray to check out a diagnosed condition. This is someone who can't order an X-ray, so this meant a trip to the doctor for a referral, going for an X-ray, and then back to the doctor, and a return to the practitioner, all for a diagnosis that didn't change the functional movement. I didn't say anything, yet considered the time, effort, energy that went into the strategies, pattern, along with the financial burden on society. Meanwhile, the functional movement patterns that have increased has released the tension in contracted posture, removed or released the fascia, and eased the inner reactive response that is at the core of holding patterns. They are learning to differentiate the differences between holding and not holding, with and without effort, and so on, all sensory conditions needed for functional learning and cannot be resolved with the diagnoses. Learning from patterns in one modality is missing in other programs, as the intended focus point for learning is elsewhere. No two modalities have the same focus of attention. Their focus point is specific to the model they are studying and not generalized to include other modalities. It is the practitioner who generalizes other modalities and tries to compare them through their personal understanding without the learned intention. It's all subjective and not objective. There is no comparison between modalities unless actively pursuing an education in each of them and in the learning mode with someone qualified to train. Unless an apprenticeship, there is no authority. It is only in the wheelhouse of what one studied and applies where authority lies. If you become an authority without apprenticeship to try and compete or compare instead of collaborate, you are gaslighting humanity and adding to the lack of alertness that is downgrading human function. This is this author's opinion and perspective based upon experience. If you would like to connect to learn more about educational opportunities, coaching, mentoring, consulting, or functional integrations, connect. The link is in the description box below. Please like and subscribe if you like this content, or follow socials listed in the description box below. Copyrighted property posted on Reni's authentic accounts only. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this content, and I'll be sure to catch you on the next one.